Representative Ilhan Omar and some of her fellow far-left colleagues are pushing a bill that they call the Support Act. It'll give $1,200 a month to people making less than $75,000 a year, or heads of household making less than $112,500 a year, plus $600 per child. This would be a first step toward a national guaranteed income, because paying people for doing nothing, that's working out really well right now. Omar declared poverty is a choice. For too long, we have prioritized endless growth while millions are homeless, hungry, or without health care. We as a nation have the ability to make sure that everyone has their basic needs like food, housing, and health care met. Oh boy, where do we even start? I guess with the fact that America already takes care of those who genuinely need food, housing, and health care. We spend hundreds of billions of dollars every year on programs like Medicaid, Section 8 housing, and SNAP food assistance. If we wanted to spend even more on those programs, maybe we could secure the border and stop letting millions of illegal immigrants suck up so much public assistance funding that otherwise could go to Americans, especially veterans. I'm just doing a little spitballing here. Second, prioritizing growth has enabled us to create the most dynamic economy in the world, one that was creating plenty of jobs and rising wages, that is up until a Chinese virus and especially Democrat politicians strangled it. Yet somehow, Trump got blamed for that. Now, I do agree with her on one thing. In some cases, poverty is a choice. Don't get me wrong, there are plenty of people who are poor through no fault of their own. But then there are those who make the mistake of listening to the false promises of leftist politicians who promise them things for free in exchange for their freedom, like a subsistence wage for no work. Leftists hope that you choose to stay in poverty because, after all, that keeps you dependent on government and it keeps them in power. Speaking of keeping leftists in power, let's talk about the Delta variant. Citing concerns over the Delta variant, various cities and businesses, including Walt Disney World, are bringing back indoor mask mandates. Teachers' unions are pushing to continue them in schools. And President Biden, who changes direction more often than LeBron James in a basketball game, now appears poised to mandate that all government workers, not surprisingly, that's the largest workforce in America, mandate that all of them get vaccinated or face regular tests and various restrictions. The Postal Workers Union had something to say about that. We're told that we need to bring back all these draconian measures because of the dangers of the dreaded Delta variant. Biden once even claimed that it's deadlier than the original disease, which it is not. Like all viruses, it is mutating into weaker forms, but most of those are easier to spread as it tries to stay alive when there are fewer potential hosts. The mixed messaging is destroying the CDC's credibility and is undermining their own arguments for getting vaccinated. For instance, if it's still necessary for vaccinated people to wear masks and social distance, kind of implies that the vaccine is useless, which it's not useless. That's just not true. The vaccine may not 100% prevent a person from getting what's called a breakthrough infection, meaning that there are rare cases in which a vaccinated person gets COVID. But when that happens, the symptoms tend to be very mild or even non-existent, and it almost guarantees that the person will not end up in ICU or die from it. But if the government mandates the same path for vaccinated people as unvaccinated, then it dramatically diminishes the incentive for vaccination. Government leaders say that we should listen to them because they represent science, but they're coming off more as politicians speaking out of both sides of their mouths at once. I just wish there was a vaccine to cure that. Republican Representative Dan Crenshaw released a series of tweets blasting the CDC for this new round of power-grabbing recommendations, claiming the entire basis for the return of a mask mandate was a single study done in India that was rejected in peer review and that involved a vaccine that we don't even use here in the United States. You can come to some very telling conclusions by looking at the information from sources even the left deems reliable. According to data provided by Johns Hopkins University, The United Kingdom appears to have already hit their peak in cases from the Delta variant, but unlike last summer, the deaths have not followed the spike in cases to nearly the same degree. You might recall that we were told to allow for roughly 2 weeks delay between cases spiking and the deaths that would follow those cases. With that in mind, the UK hit its peak cases on January 8th of this year, with over 68,000 cases reported on that day. Just 12 days later, on January 20th, 2021, the UK reported its highest deaths in a day, with nearly 2,000 deaths. Well, let's compare that to the recent effects of the Delta variant. The UK peaked from Delta on July 17th with over 54,000 cases, nearly as high as their peak in January. 10 days later, they reported their peak deaths from Delta with just 131 deaths. I don't know about you, but it seems to me like the Delta variant is less deadly than the Alpha variant. And yet, despite the data, despite the facts, despite the actual science, which the left claims they love so much, virtually every Democrat in the leadership position is flat out ignoring or manipulating the truth so that they can push their agenda. They're addicted to the power that they were allowed to exercise this last year. But they'll only get their fix if we, the people, enable them. Listen, COVID is real and it's dangerous. I've personally had 3 close friends fighting for their lives in ICU in the past 2 weeks. But the vaccination is also real. And for most of it, and for pretty much all of us, it's quite effective in preventing and certainly mitigating the impact of COVID and keeping us from being deathly sick or dying. But we still need a vaccine that will protect us from the political elites and the media who seem less interested in controlling a virus than in controlling us. Thanks for watching. I hope you liked the video and that you'll comment if you enjoyed it, and consider subscribing to the channel below and clicking the notification bell. That helps a lot in getting our videos viewed by more people. And why don't you join me for a live Q&A this Friday? You can click the link in the description to get a notification when we're live. And if you want more of my news analysis and commentary, be sure to sign up for my newsletter at MikeHuckabee.com. It is completely free. Well, that's it for this edition of The Breakdown. I'm Mike Huckabee.